Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jiayu, recently joined CBE as a postdoc. My research focuses on indoor air quality and closely collaborate with Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. After 3 years of pandemic, we no longer check COVID cases every day, but the viruses are still spreading. It reminds us that some critical elements are still missing in our understanding of how viruses spread. I think airflow pattern could be one of them. Today, I want to share with you a chamber study that evaluates the impact of ceiling fan on infectious aerosol transmission. At CBE, we have done many studies demonstrating that ceiling fan can save energy and improve comfort. However, we know little about the fan's impact on air quality. Specifically, we don't have a solid answer on whether we can use the fan when the disease is spread airborne. First, let's see the infection control guidelines about ceiling fan from authorities. CDC clearly said that using ceiling fan is a good measure as they can improve airflow. The WHO recommendation about using fans is more complicated. It only recommends using ceiling fans when windows or doors open. It says that running a fan in closed space can increase the transmission rates of viruses. However, there's no reference to support it. One of the most against using ceiling fan recommendation is from ASHRAE. The advisory public review version of ASHRAE 241 said that no lateral airflow is greater than 50 feet per minute is allowed in the breathing zone. It basically banned using fans because fan elevated air movement would be easily higher than that limit. Of course, we cannot agree, so we commented to ASHRAE to revise it. The current published version has removed this requirement, but we are unsure if it will be back in the future versions if we don't have a published scientific evidence. Therefore, a comprehensive study is needed to not only address the inconsistency among the recommendations, but also address the public concern. Even though many things remain unsolved, one of the major lessons we learned during the pandemic is the transmission route. Over the 3 years, the dominant route has been changed from close contact to droplet format and eventually airborne. More researchers now believe that proximity inhalation or short-range inhalation is the predominant transmission route of SARS-CoV-2 viruses. The border between the short range and the long range is around 1.5 meters. Based on it, we conducted a tracer particle-based experiment in a well-controlled climate chamber in Singapore. We tested a combination of 2 ceiling fan condition and 3 ventilation rate. We assigned a thermal dummy as the infector, continuously releasing tracer particles at a breathing rate. 5 dummies are receivers at a short range and a long range route to the source. Let's look at the result of the short range route. The point shows the mean of the measured tracer particle concentration, and the whiskers shows the variation of the measurement. We can see that even when the ceiling fan is off, shown in blue, particle concentration around the person at short-range road is much higher than the theoretically well-mixed values indicated by the dashed horizontal lines. With the increased ventilation, we can see a decrease in particle concentration, but it is not proportional. When we double or even quadruple the ventilation rate from 200 to 400, or from 200 to 400 and even 800, the particle concentration reduction is just 14% and 38%. When we turn on the fans, shown in red, showing in yellow, we can see that massive reduction in all ventilation rate. At short-range road, the reduction caused by ceiling fan can be even higher than 4 times increased ventilation rate. By contrast, the impact is different for long-range road. For all ventilation rate, we can see a slightly increase in the particle concentration. It shows that it is worth noting that the concentration at long-range road is much lower, which will show less impact when we convert the tracer particle concentration to infection risks. So how to do it? To explain how we're gonna convert the tracer particle concentration to infection risk, some terminology will be introduced in these slides. The method is called the dilution-based Wells-Rayleigh model. The idea is to assume that the dilution mechanism of the exhaled pathogen and is similar to the released particles. So in our experiment, we release tracer particles at a specific emission rate. And after undergoing dilution in the room, we measured the tracer particle in different locations in the room. Similarly, the released infectious aerosols from infected people can also be modeled as a releasing at a constant rate. We call it a quanta emission rate. The pathogens with a higher transmissibility will have a higher quanta emission rate. Given the tracer particle emission rate and measured tracer particle concentration and the quanta emission rate, we can calculate the quanta concentration at any locations in the room. The calculated infection risk showed that the fan have a much higher impact on infection risk at the short-range road than the long-range road, as indicated by the gaps between the blue and the yellow curves across these two panels. The difference is smaller when the disease is a super low or super high transmissible. When we calculate the difference between using fans and not using fans, and they expand the result into different exposure durations, we can see that using fans reduce the infection risk of people by more than 40% at a short-range road, while increase the long-range road is less than 5%. Based on the result, we want to build a decision tool for building manager and researchers to calculate whether turning on the fans is a good idea. We have the input like a ventilation rate and quanta emission rate, and also exposure duration, breathing rate, and we also can consider if we measure the mask, wear the mask or not. In addition, we need to consider how many people are in the short-range road and the long-range road. After we input all the parameters, we will see the result like this. The y-axis shows the quanta emission rate of pathogen. The x-axis is the total of total number of people in the room, the sum of short-run load and the long-run load. Arbitrary recommended per person ventilation rate is shown in blue area. Using the fan is beneficial if the circle dot is located within the green color. Otherwise, using the fan may not be a good idea regarding the pathogen transmission if the circled dot located in the red area. If we explore more scenarios, we can summarize the impact of fan on airborne transmission. The panel from left to the right indicate different ventilation rate. The first and second row shows the scenario of occupants with and without wearing masks. As indicated by the green area from left to the right, we can see that the increased ventilation will provide substantial benefit of using fans. The extreme case could be that outdoor or semi-outdoor space where the dilution of the ventilation can be extremely high. However, fans is not a benefit. Benefit of fans is limited if the pathogen is super contagious. In this situation, using fan will not be beneficial if people don't wear masks. Okay. At the end, I want to conclude that after this study, we think we should not only simply increase ventilation but also we need to think about airflow pattern. Thanks for your attention. I would like to take questions if any.